What if Naruto is in Uchiha Part 7? Let's go. Now Team 7 just arriving back from their mission, they walk around town as Naruto sees the third Hokage's grandson and interferes as he sees that Konohamaru is getting bullied, assaulted, whatever you might call it, by some random sand shinobi. Naruto asks why they're even here, but that seems to be a dumb question, as then 2 seconds later he remembers himself that the Chunin exams are soon beginning. So he corrects himself and saying, "Never mind, I already know." "What about you? Where are you hiding?" Naruto asks, looking at the tree right beside him, where, seemingly, there is only a shadow hanging from a branch. The shadow jumps down and reveals himself to be a boy, just about Naruto's age, though seeming completely emotionless. "What's your name?" Sasuke asks, as he was standing right behind Naruto, now having caught up to him. "Gaara of the Sand. What about you?" "You certainly seem powerful." At the Sasuke telling his name, their exchange is complete, and they both part ways. Konohamaru is brought back to Hiruzen's office, and Team 7 now prepares for the Chunin exams, now being formally invited by Kakashi. They first have to do some pre-exam tests though. Okay, I might have to explain this. So, I don't know if you remember this, but in the original series, Team 7 had to complete some exams and tests before the actual Chunin exams because they were seen as unfit. Not really unfit, but, well, they'd only been genin for, only a few weeks now. A month, about something like that. So, the examiners wanted to see if they were even ready to take the exam at all. And they passed. And so did they in this What If. I mean, all of them are much stronger than in the original series, so of course they passed. And quite flawlessly, actually. And a big thing to notice is, while Sakura still likes him a lot, she isn't as attached to Sasuke as she usually would be in the original series. Just keep that in mind. So now the actual Chunin exams begin. Of course, not having their sensei to guide them through, Team 7 is still confident in their own abilities, however, and in their teamwork. So, in a triangle shape, all three of them walk through the first genjutsu that was set up as a trap before the first exam even began for the noobs, and sat in the waiting area for the written test to begin. They didn't encounter Kabuto at all, since Naruto didn't scream and wasn't as hyperactive as in the original series. So Kabuto, wanting to keep up his disguise as working for Orochimaru, didn't want to engage in any kind of conversation with Sasuke or Naruto, as it just didn't fit, the situation. The actual first exam now began, and with two of their team, that of course being the Uchiha boys, having Sharingan, this test was easy. Now, they were already pretty smart, but with the Sharingan, they were able to copy anyone's answer that was in their vicinity. And Naruto actually used the windows and the Sharingan to look for a reflection, to look at other people's papers that were behind him or farther in front that he couldn't see. And even for a brief second, he was able to look at an answer sheet that an examiner was holding. So he knew he got at least that one right. Then the 10th question came, and that question is if they wanted to stay in the exam, even though they knew that they might fail and never be allowed to return. But they had their resolve. None of them was going to give up now. So they stayed, and without much hassle, they won and passed the first exam. Now Anko jumped through the window and introduced them to the training ground. Or, at least called them to the training ground, before actually introducing the exam. The Forest of Death. Much harder than the first test, is what she ensured. Naruto asked a question, but it was in a cocky tone, so Anko threw a shuriken. A kunai, to be exact. And the weird person grabbed the kunai and returned it to Tanko. The person had a weird sensation, a weird aura. They were evil and powerful, but seemingly innocent. It was just weird. Naruto had never seen anything like it. It was like a lion, but with the face of a rabbit. But now finally, the exam began, and Naruto signaled to his teammates to run into the forest and hide immediately. They would let all the other teams pass by them, as they didn't want any trouble. They had 3 days to complete this exam, so why should they rush a random team in the first few seconds? It is completely dumb. Staying and hiding, at least for now, was so much better. They preserved their energy, whilst other teams fought and exhausted themselves. So Naruto would easily be able to pick off any remaining team. The team waited for 12 whole hours until it was night, whilst the other teams were probably all sleeping. Team 7 had taken turns already sleeping during noon. Always 1 or sometimes even 2 people keeping watch. So now they weren't exhausted at all and ready to fight, whilst other teams were completely asleep. It was a coward's tactic, but it would most definitely work. Naruto came up with it, as Sasuke would never stoop so low. At least that was what he said. But he couldn't deny the fact that the strategy was quite good. No one would expect an attack in the middle of the night. They found a pretty banged up team already. One of the team members had quite some bruises on his face, whilst a girl was keeping watch, and another girl was sleeping near a campfire that was slowly losing its light. Simultaneously, Team 7 jumped down, grabbing the teammate that was awake, not letting her let out a tone to wake up the others. Then they stole the scroll and left. They didn't need to use any violence, they just needed to get the scroll. And as long as the team wouldn't go back to fight them, there wouldn't need to be any actual fight. Thing is, they chose a route through the trees that would not be able to be tracked so easily. And since it was in the middle of the night, being able to see anything was not easy. Which is why both Naruto and Sasuke actually used their Sharingans to see much better. And Sakura kind of relied on them. Not because she's weak, just because, her eyes are normal. Now having both scrolls that they need, Team 7 went to the tower. Even though it was in the middle of the night, it would be completely useless to sleep out in the woods and then go to the tower, as they might even meet other teams on the way and lose at least one of their scrolls, perhaps even both of them, which would be terrible. Now, believe it or not, this tactic worked quite perfectly, and Orochimaru never laid a finger on them in the second exam. He was obviously furious when he woke up the next morning and found out from some of his, let's say, agents, servants, whatever, that Team 7 had already finished the exam. But it was the truth, and Orochimaru couldn't do anything against it. At least for now. So Team 7 still had 2 days to rest before the next exam. And they went pretty fast. But they did see, and even talk a little bit, to the very first team that passed the exam. This being the team that they had already met a few days ago. The team of the Sand Village. Gaara's team. Naruto wanted to talk to Gaara, as he seemed very powerful, and perhaps even fight him. He's never had a really good rival, a really good match. Now Sasuke wasn't easy to fight against, no. But having a brother rival and a rival is different. At least that's what he thought. So, who knows? Maybe this was the one. But Gaara declined, saying that anyone would be way too weak for him. Naruto asked if he needs proof, readying himself for a fight. But Temari intervened, saying that it was necessary, and they would see in the next exam if Naruto was truly ready to fight any of them. Not even speaking of Gaara. But Naruto talked to Gaara, actually every few hours, and it got kind of annoying. But for some reason, this person was different, and Gaara knew it. This person, this human, didn't fear Gaara at all, even though she knew exactly what Gaara was. A Jinchuriki, impersonation, and a cage for a tailed beast. This one being Shukaku, the One-Tails, an extremely aggressive and ruthless monster, which caused Gaara's murderous way of living. But Gaara knew that Naruto was different. He was similar to him. And Naruto learned of Shukaku himself that Naruto was like him. Naruto was a Jinchuriki, and of the one that Shukaku hated the most, the nine-tailed beast, Kurama. As Shukaku didn't let Gaara get any rest as he was exceptionally angry. But Naruto, and with the help of Kurama, tried his best to calm down Gaara before anything would happen. Obviously so did his siblings, but they didn't really understand anything about being a Jinchuriki. So Naruto thought that he would be the one that could relate the most to Gaara, and he was. So Gaara didn't go on any murder spree, but he wasn't exceptionally happy. And now the two nights came around, and the next exam would begin. Now there was a slight problem. There were too many people for the next exam. So they would have preliminary matches, a 1v1, and only the winner would continue to the next round. That's it, meaning only half of the remaining contestants would continue to the finals. However, once more there was an issue. They were 17 people, not 60. Not an odd number. Luckily, Kabuto, who had apparently failed the exam numerous times before, gave up and left the exam, saying that it was already hard enough, so he was going to try next year. Now it was perfect. There were 16 people, an even number, meaning that in the finals, there would be 8 people to contest for the absolute winner. So now the preliminary matches could begin. But that's going to be it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.